Welcome, friends, to the fifth day and the fifth session of this seminar. And today we have five learned speakers. We have with us Bhagyalata Pataskar, Dr. Vasanti Limaye, Vijay Lakshmi from Jharkhand, Dr. Bhushan Chumun from Mauritius, and Ved Prakash Gupta from uh, Lucknow. So before we start this program formally, I invite Ish Narangji to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar. Ish Narangji.
Thank you, sir. Namaste, everybody. This Ashwamedh Yaj. Today is the fifth day of this Ashwamedh Yaj of knowledge, started by our Professor Ravi Prakash ji, and in line with the first mantra of the Rigved, Agni Mile Prohitam Yajasya Deva Mritvijam, he is the Prohit, the Dev, the Ritvij, and Hota of this Yajna, and he has invited a number of Udgatas. The first Udgata today is going to be Bhagyalata, Madam Bhagyalata, Behan Bhagyalata from Pune. And as I said earlier in the informal talk, Ashwini ji is a very good advaryu in this whole process. I thank Dr. Ved Prakash and Dr. Ashwini. Now, I have been asked to introduce the first Udgata today. Dr. Bhagyalata Pataskar. She is an eminent Sanskrit scholar and researcher, author of several books on the topics relating to Veda, Brahman Grantha, Upanishads, and Yajna, etc. And she has 2 master's degrees to her credit. Masters in Sanskrit and Masters in Linguistics, and also PhD degree in Sanskrit Vyakran. From 1985 to 2000, she worked in various capacities in the Sanskrit Center of Savitri Bai Phule Vidyapith, Pune, and thereafter, 2000 onwards, she is the director at Vedika Sanshodhan Mandal, Pune. Her postgraduate teaching subjects also are interesting. They include Siddhant Kaumudi, Ashtadhyayi, Vakya Pradeep, and Nirukta, etc. She has published 8 books and edited another 16. She has to her credit 75 plus research papers, and she has guided 7 students for PhD and also quite a few number for postdoctoral studies. She has completed a very important project on Shukla Yajurved Ghan part. The Sahita Ghan part is in 90 DVDs, 90 videos, 90 DVDs, and that project has been completed by her. She has participated in around 36 national and international seminars and has several awards to her credit. She was conferred the title of Ved Vibhushana by Kavi Kul Guru Kalidas Sanskrit Vishwavidyalaya, Pandit Latkar Shastri Puruskar, and the prestigious Pandit Satwalekar Puruskar also. And despite all her achievements, all her attainments, she sustains a very unassuming, unpretentious, down-to-earth, and ingenious personality. So friends, welcome Bhagini Dr. Bhagyalata, and over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. चतुर्भिश्च चतुर्भिश्च द्वाभ्यां पंचभिरेव च पूयते च पुनर्द्वाभ्यां तस्मै यज्ञात्मने नमः. I thank the organizer for giving me this opportunity. The topic I would like to present is spiritual and scientific dimensions of Agnihotra, almost the theme of this seminar. However, the erudite scholars have already dealt with different aspects of this topic in detail. I would like to share some of my observations only of Yajna in general and Agnihotra in particular. This is amazing feature of Agnihotra that it is regarded as religious ritual but is subject to scientific experiments. It includes, it inculcates the spirituality and yields the mundane benefits such as good health, etc. It is a sort of de-religionized form of Vedic ritual. The secret of Agnihotra in inculcating spirituality lies in its structure, and that of Agnihotra attracting scientists lies in its effects. There are historical transformations in Agnihotra. The Shrauta Agnihotra is one which is described and prescribed by directly the Vedic text, that is the Shrutis. Then the simpler form is Smarta Agnihotra, which we find in Griya text. And then there are simpler and simplest versions of Agnihotra, which are prescribed by many thinkers, or better word is designed by many thinkers, and which are practiced popularly nowadays. Out of these three, the Shrauta Agnihotra is fully and transparently spiritual, although we do not have the documents of experiments carried on the Shrauta Agnihotra, also on Smarta Agnihotra. Of course, methodical experiments. However, there are lots of scientific experiments carried on the compact form of Agnihotra. Hence, to shed light on the spiritual aspect of Agnihotra, I have considered the Shrauta model of Agnihotra, and to disclose the scientificity, I have considered the modern compact model of Agnihotra. The Agnihotra leads one to spirituality because there is possibility to keep the mind on divine atmosphere. It demands regularity and continuity. The entire procedure results into calming down the mind and abating the agitations. Agnihotra is scientific because it has limited constituents and they can be analyzed under controlled experiments. And the standardization is also possible. And therefore, Agnihotra has scientific dimension. And another point is that scientific dimension has revealed that there is slow combustion. It emits CO2, which is consumed by the green leaves, and as a result, more oxygen is discharged. The gases emitted through the Agnihotra kill the harmful germs in the atmosphere. This is very brief summary what I would like to present. An important point I would like to share with you is, it has always been a matter of curiosity that how the practice of Agnihotra or Yajna develops spirituality. What is there that creates and develops spirituality in a human being, in person? I tried my best to find out an answer to it, which I would like to share with you. Ayur yajnena kalpatam. May the life be yajna is the great message of Vedas. And here I find the spiritual potential of Agnihotra. See the instrumental yajnena here. This is very significant. The expression, see the expression sukhena gacchati. Sorry. This is adverbial instrumental, which implies that the motivation of going is also sukha, in sukhena gacchati. The manner in which one is going is also sukha, and the result of gacchati is also sukha. Same is the case of ayur yajnena kalpatam. The motivation of life should always be yajna. The living of the life should be yajna, not like yajna, should be yajna. And result of the life should also be yajna. So this is the meaning of ayur yajnena kalpatam. Actually, one may perform yajna or may not perform, but it is quite possible to bring in life the qualities such as gratitude, connecting one to divine strata, experiencing chit, chaitanya everywhere. This is what is meant by yajna, or this is what is assumed in fact by yajna, the word yajna. It is just blessings of my guru that I could write a book on yajna, yajna vai shreshtatamam karma. And in detail, I have discussed this topic. Here are only the jottings. And this is what is intended by the word, by the phrase, ayur yajnena kalpatam. May there be these things in the life. It is quite true that yajna is karma. However, it is also clear that yajna is a pattern of thought, which is built with an attitude of looking at the world and at one's own life. This particular attitude can be called yajna worldview. This is what I think. Today, discussion seems to be frequently carried on integral worldview, holistic worldview. A constructive and welfare attitude of looking towards the world around us and towards the life is called worldview normally. With particular worldview, our life becomes happy and successful. Not only this, but a family and organization to which one belongs also prospers with such particular attitude. However, the yajna worldview is far better than these two types of worldviews. And this is in fact the contribution of the Vedas to the world, that they have given us yajna worldview. It contains the spirituality in addition to individual prosperity and social bondage. By default, the worldview should have these things: individual prosperity and social bondage. But the yajna worldview has this additional thing that it inculcates spirituality. Therefore, I sincerely hold that a person with yajna worldview not only brings worldly prosperity with happiness of his own as well as of the society, but in addition to that, he spiritually lifts them up to a higher plane. Peace and stability are the yields of yajna worldview. Now let us see in brief what I mean by yajna worldview. Any happening or any action is a result of the previous action, and also the same is root cause of the subsequent action. This chain type of structure of actions seem to be the basic model of yajna. Offer something, the fire, and then something yields out of it. And with that person becomes happy, prosperous, again yajna, etc. So a chain goes on, unending chain of yajna. These are not an action and reactions, but a chain of action connected with another action, some sort of action and respond to that action. It is not necessary that all the actions should be visible or directly perceivable. Therefore, the Mimamsakas have to assume apurva as an invisible link between what one performs in one's lifetime and what one enjoys as its result sometime in future, even sometime in next birth. If we apply this model to our day-to-day life, then we will be aware of each and every action performed by us. If any action is result of previous action, then we will be, of course, responsible for what we are now, and will be more careful to what we are doing now. Moreover, it is not only our own action in isolation, but all the actions prior to it collectively yield an action we are carrying at any time. Same ideology works for any of our action and its direct and indirect effects in future. This particular thinking pattern would certainly make one more responsible, more careful, more positive. This thought process would shape the behavioral pattern, since obviously one won't say, "What hell if I do this? I am free to do whatever I wish to do," which indicates irresponsible and unrestrained attitude. There is no scope for such attitude in Yajna worldview. And therefore, the Yajna worldview has potential to create and develop the spirituality. This is how the Yajna worldview shapes one's behavior. There is one more assumption we find in the Yajna worldview. As there is a chain relationship among actions around us, there is certainly invisible interrelationship among the objects around us. Therefore, the Sutrakaras insist upon particular type of objects for Yajna. In this context, it is very interesting to see how Yaskacharya has used the word bhakti in the Nirukta. He says there is Agni Bhakti, there is Indra Bhakti, means the things related to Agni are called Agni Bhakti. Very significant term he has used. For example, Agni is a deity, belongs to earth, so earth. Deity related to Bhuhu, Pratasavan, Vasanta, that is Vasanta Rutu, Gayatri, Trivrustoma, Radhandarasama, deities like Bhuloka, that is Apri, Aksha, Gravan, Abhishu, female deities like Agnai, Prithvi, Ida. So the entire complex is called Agni Bhakti. Like this, there is Indra Bhakti, Varuna Bhakti, etc. So it means the Yajna assumes the interrelation among several objects. We may see it, we may perceive it, we may not see it, whatever it is, but there is interrelation among all the objects in the universe. That is, I think, is the presupposition seems to be of these people. So this interrelation or association established among various objects we also find in the Aranyakas. But in the Brahmana text, there is actually Yajna performed, and in Aranyakas, there is internalization of the Yajna. We find the meditation patterns are based on the Yajna, and this is the strength of the Yajna that yields, creates, develops spirituality, which is clearly highlighted by the Aranyaka text. An interesting point is that it is in the context of Yajna that Aranyakas, there is Antaram Agnihotram, we find in the Shankha and Aranyaka. This implies that the seers might have assumed a sort of interrelation among all the objects. They have tested it by meditation patterns, etc. So, It goes without saying that according to Vedic seers, the world is not dumping yard of different types of things, but a clean-cut, regular design formed by these objects. As there is no single action in isolation, there is not a single object standing alone in isolation. The interwoven structure of the objects and actions is in fact the secret of the world, seems to be an assumption of the Yajna worldview. This thinking pattern forms the part of Yajna worldview. That is what I think. This thought controls our behavior. We cannot use, put, or handle any object just because we want to do it in that particular way. This self-centered as well as short-sighted attitude then damages the design of the universe. It goes without saying that there is no place for one-sided or such self-centric thinking in Yajna worldview. The Yajna worldview certainly develops the awareness as well as sense of responsibility for the objects and happenings around us. Yajna, then there is another point which has built up strong spirituality in Yajna worldview. See what the structure of Yajna. Yajna is in fact the dialogue between a human being, maybe Advaryu, may Yajaman, whosoever, and the things involved in the ritual or the things around it, around the human. See, for example, the mantras which are used in Yajna. I mean Shrauta Yajna. Ishe Tva, Shakha Harana Mantra, Tva, Oshadhe, Trayasva, Enam, protect it, Oshadhe, O tree. So, vocatives, second person forms, second person pronouns, first person pronouns, first person verbal forms, idamaham anrutat satyam upaimi, or Deurasi, Prithviyasi, etc. Second person verbal forms are used. We specially find this feature in the mantras, and this indicate that Yajna is nothing but very beautiful and vital dialogue between a person and the things around him. It just goes on, dialogue goes on, and this creates the liveliness in the entire ritual where the spirituality lies. The dialogue is not at all possible if it is not assumed, rather accepted that surrounding is equally living entity. Faith in omnipresence of divine element is an important factor of the Yajna worldview. See, demons have always tried to oppose Yajna and put obstacles in Yajna. You might have heard several stories of demons putting obstacles in Yajna or demolishing Yajna. When Yajna purifies the environment, Yajna increases the yields, Yajna brings prosperity, Yajna fulfills the desires, then why the demons are against Yajna? Didn't they want this? Certainly the demons wanted this, but they were strongly against Yajna worldview. Because Yajna worldview is based on spirituality and its consequent is also spirituality. And I think that Asuri pravrutti is the exactly opposite of spirituality or spirituality. Therefore, even at cost of mundane benefits, the demons tried to demolish Yajna. This is what I think. Swarga kamo yajeta, and some such sentences. These are the motivating statements of Yajna. And there are several yajnas specially prescribed for Sargaloka, Pitruloka, Yamaloka, etc. What does the loka mean? This is a state of Jivatma, where means after death, the Jivatma receives or enjoys that state is the loka. This clearly means that something remains after death, even after a body is cremated, and that something that remains enjoys the fruit of karma or yajna that are performed while it was in the body. This is Jivatma that enjoys the fruit of action in other world is a part of, in fact, philosophy of yajna. Yajna has philosophy also. As yajna is means of getting worldly prosperity, wealth, progeny, etc., it is also a means of getting otherworldly status. If heaven or swarga is a result of yajna, then obviously hell would be caused by bad or sinful actions. And it may put the obstacle in getting the swarga, that is the final aim according to the Brahman text or yajna. Beyond mundane benefits and beyond complicated ritual, yajna has maintained highest degree of spirituality and morality because of this particular assumption. The reason of this lies in the assumption of yajna phalabhukta. There is one more assumption of yajna, which is devata. Yajna is a means of pacify and satisfy that powerful entity who controls the life and nature. The assumption further implies that there is controlling power of this universe. A man is subordinate to it and has to follow these rules. This shapes the thinking pattern and which further creates and develops the spirituality. Now let us see in brief that what is it that attracts the scientist of environment, or what is it with which yajna or agnihotra contributes to environment. In brief, I am not going to give the experiments. They are already presented by various speakers and scientists. In brief, I would like to explain one point. According to the ancient thinking, an environment is constituted of 5 elements: earth, water, light, air, and space. A reference from Chandogya Upanishad clearly sheds light on the close relationship between Agnihotra and environment. The verse is, Yatheha kshidhita bala mataram paryupasate tatha sarvani bhutani agnihotram upasate. The hungry children are very keen and eager to see their mother, when she will come and when we will get food, etc. And they are eager to see her. Similarly, all the 5 elements wait for Agnihotra. When Agnihotra will be performed and when we will get our food. Agnihotra is the basic model of Shrauta Yajna. Thus, the Shruti here implies that the Yajnas nourish, gratify, and keep the 5 elements, that is the entire environment, happy, healthy, and positively active, as the mother keeps the child. It is a mother and child relationship between yajna and environment. The Rigvedic text, Ayam Yajno Bhuvanasya Nabhihi, meaning yajna is the navel of the universe, implies the same. A navel feeds an embryo, so the yajna also feeds the universe. Yajna feeds the universe means yajna keeps it healthy, sound, and harmonious by controlling serious disturbances in it that otherwise would have proved a threat. This particular point can be examined, can be tested under controlled experiments, and therefore there is scope for scientificity in the Agnihotra. And yajna means a chain of action that we have already seen, and receiving fare of the deity, the yajna also is the means. The next point I think I would skip. I better keep looking at the time. Okay. There are few, I will conclude. There are few institutes that are engaged in performing experiments, particularly on Agnihotra. On Shrauta Yajna, we do not find such methodical or controlled experiments are performed, but the compact form of Agnihotra has become subject to Yajna. However, Panchasadhana Kendra and the main institute of Panchasadhana Kendra in Maheshwara, they are engaged in carrying the experiments and making the yajna open for the scientist. And each year and several places, such experiments are being carried. Yajna Shakti Prakash is another organization that also performs yajna and collects the observations. Then Swami Haridas Haridas Foundation in Vadgaon Shiri near Pune is also engaged in carrying the experiments. In fact, Swami Haridas has designed different models of yajna. This is his contribution. Different models of yajna for different purposes. And foundation has carried experiments methodically on underground water, yajna, how it affects on underground water, crops, human health. The foundation has huge data of yajna experiments. And all these points are already discussed and presented by several scientists and scholars, so I need not speak them. Yajna purifies atmosphere and brings positive effect on human body, mind, animals, plants, etc. is the conclusion, but it is an age-old experience. It is not a conclusion of these experiments, but it is age-old experience. However, carrying the experiments on this matter and thereby proving and establishing it was done first time by the scholars of Arya Samaji, motivated, supported, and guided by Maharishi Dayananda. I humbly maintain that this type of a point to be noted is that Ayurveda also has prescribed of homas under Daiva.
Hello.
Yes. Hello. Shall I?
Hello.
Daiva Vyapashraya Chikitsa, and there also Yajna carries introduction experiments. So I would conclude it by saying that there is scope for scientificity in the Agnihotra, and by nature it yields spirituality. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Bhagyalata Padaskarji. You have given a very good elaboration of Yajna, and you told that the Yajna culture, the Vedic culture is the Yajna culture, and even the Indian, the India is a country of Yajna. Yajyat, Bharata Varshat, like that, these type of attributes are used. And it has two aspects. One is the spiritual aspect. And in Brahmana Granthas, time and again it has been said, Atma Yajitvam, Deva Yajitvam cha. So Yajna has both a spiritual aspect as well as environmental aspect or any physical aspect. And this is how the whole process of Yajna has been described. Even in Bhagavad Gita, it says Tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yajna pratishthitam. The pratishtha of Brahman is also in the yajna. So yajna is the key point or the center point of the Vedic culture. Thanks a lot.